So folks, I'm sure by now you've all heard about the news in Syria. This is some troubling development because it looks like the US is about to get itself into some more bullshit in the Middle East. So I'm gonna talk about the whole Syrian situation, American involvement, the Russian point of view, and maybe a little bit about American policy in the Middle East in general. Right now, there is clear evidence that chemical weapons have indeed been used. The question is, did Assad, president of Syria, actually order the use of those weapons, or was it done by some crazy fanatic? We don't know. We do know that there was some sort of frantic phone call between the commanders of the brigade that launched the chemical weapons and some higher-ups in the Syrian government demanding answers for the chemical attack. This could suggest that Assad did not order the strikes, the chemical weapon strikes on the civilian population. But I don't know, I'm just speculating, because if he ordered the strike, he would have no need to question whether it had been used. That's just my thinking on the issue. This leads us, the US, to, get our itchy trigger fingers ready to pull the gun trigger and fire off our missiles. And meanwhile, the Russians, they have a stake in this as well, just as we do. Middle East policy for the US has always been about two things: Israel and oil. This particular case, it's about Israel. Now with the Russians, they pretty much have three reasons why they're getting involved. First of all, Syria is a major partner when it comes to purchasing Russian weapons systems. Machine guns, tanks, I think fighter jets as well, artillery, missiles, you name it. There is a lot of business in there. From what I've heard, $5 billion a year, which is quite a bit of money. Secondly, the Russians, they are leasing a naval base in Syria, similar to how the US has bases abroad. The Russians have one too, and it happens to be in Syria. There is strategic importance for the Russians that the Assad regime does not fall because it would threaten their base. The Russians want to be able to project their military might in case of any possible confrontation with NATO. And that Syrian naval base is the key to having a strategic advantage. And third reason, ideology. They do not want the US to have a monopoly in foreign influence in the Middle East. The Russians, they want their own leverage in the region because they need it to counteract our leverage in the region. Why do the Russians even want this influence? Well, it's also because of oil. Because the Russians, they have a huge stake in the oil industry. They would like to control oil prices themselves because the higher the oil prices, the greater profits they would make in their own industry from the overall global, oil futures. But there's probably more that I've missed when it comes to their, business ties in the region. But those, the oil, the base, the military deals, particularly with Syria, is their reasoning for getting involved in this issue by trying to block intervention. I'm sure the Russians do know of the atrocities going on in Syria, but as any government would do, they would always put national interest above what is moral. Every government does it. Every government. Including our own. Including here in the US. We put national security interests above what is right or wrong for the American people when it comes to our civil liberties. You can see it all. You see it all the time with spying programs and all that shit in the news. This leads to another greater question about US foreign policy in the Middle East. Yeah, we all know about the oil, but let's go to the issue about Israel. Why is America so close to Israel? I read up on the history of our relationship with Israel, and the whole state of Israel was formed because of sympathy after the Holocaust in World War II. So we decided we'd help the Jews out by reconstituting their ancient homeland. But in this day and age, when Israel is perfectly capable of defending itself because of all the weapons we've given them, why are we holding such close relationships with them? Why are we standing by them unquestionably? Is there a huge Jewish community in the US who is influencing our politics? I believe so. But after giving them so much, you would think they can stand on their own for a little bit. Why do they have to continue to receive $3 billion a year in military aid? Why does any country receive American aid when we're in such huge financial problems ourselves? But that's a debate for another day. Personally, this whole Syrian situation is a lose-lose debacle waiting to happen. Like, if we attack Syria, we're just getting involved in another foreign country's affairs. Yes, I know there are atrocities there, but why should we care? This does not affect us in any way. Are there moral obligations? Yes. Does this give us the right to bomb another country? Probably not. So let's say we do not get involved. After the ultimatum the president gave about chemical weapons, he does not follow through. What happens? Well, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, they're all gonna think, you know what? Obama is a pussy. He's not gonna back up his own word. And this just gives the opportunity for our potential adversaries to push us and prod us and, pretty much do as they will because they know Obama's too much of a pussy to do anything about it. I mean, look at North Korea. Do you think sanctions are going to work? No, they don't give a shit. If we don't, act responsibly, but still forcefully in some ways, they're going to think they're not going to do shit. North Koreans, they're still being assholes. They're still firing off their missiles. They're still detonating nukes. No matter how the US responds to this, it's not going to go well with us. Because if we bomb them, we're going to spend more billions of dollars. And we just don't have it. If we don't, the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Iranians, they're going to feel like it's going to be okay to walk over us or our allies. We're just in a shithole.